With the ongoing challenges at the Cape Town harbour, Agbiz producers and exporters came up with a possible solution, and that is the Genset PSP project. Joining me today, Theo Boshoff from Agbiz to tell us more. Theo, maybe we should just start off, just give us more background.
Thank you very much. So, I think it's common knowledge that we've been experiencing struggles during the peak season, typically from December to the end of March, with the exports from Cape Town Port. And over time, we've cultivated quite a good relationship with Transnet. And how this came about was really just an open invitation. I think for the last few years, we said, how can we help? And then the port management actually came up with a concept, is creating additional plug point capacity, so that if there's adverse weather conditions, wind, whatever the case might be, where you can't load the ships fast enough, they can't accept additional cargo into the port, because obviously fresh fruit have to be plugged in, they have to have power, because they have to be kept cold. So the thinking behind this was to create additional plug points, and then they requested us, can the industry maybe see if we can get a project together? So the way we initiated it was, the timing was a bit of a challenge, because it all had to take place over December. But the Western Cape Government, Hortgrow, SATI, Fresh Produce Exporters Forum, and the Cull Group all voluntarily donated some funding, and then Agbiz just did the contracting and the organizing behind it and the collaboration. But essentially then what we managed to do is raise just under 2 million rand, which means you could rent 2 500 kilovolt generators that could each run an additional 60 plug points. So that just creates that buffer capacity to be able to, when you can't load the ships fast enough, you don't need to turn around the trucks at the gate or close the gate and say, sorry, we can't accept more cargo. It creates an extra capacity at least for them to offload.
So what was the impact?
So the impact, I think, gave a lot of flexibility to the port management, and we did see this past season went much better than the previous 2 seasons, and I do think this certainly had an impact on that. So that flexibility to be able to plan around it is very, very useful. Cape Town Port is obviously at its, and especially with fresh produce export, at its busiest for 4 months of the year. So it's a challenge to create, or there's a risk of over-capitalizing and over-investing in infrastructure for 4 months of the year. But this concept of having mobile plug points definitely did help quite significantly. And then for the producer side as well as the exporter side, the benefit of that was if it wasn't in place, if the port can't accept additional cargo, their options are either you need to reroute it to the Eastern Cape, which is very expensive, or you need to turn around and take it back to cold storage and unload it again, which is also very expensive, or see if you can hire a private facility close by. So it really was, I think, cost management and crisis management. But the impact, I think we definitely saw it benefited a lot during this season.
So what happens now? It is there. It's just not. They're just not using it at this moment. So what's the future? What now?
So we saw it basically as a pilot project. So it's a way to mitigate losses, and that's what was done on a donation basis, where the industry and industry partners donated funds. But it was only for a 4-month period. So the generators have now recently been removed as that season winds down. But the concept is interesting, and there's a lot of interest, especially from Transnet side, to say, as the seasons move, is it possible to move the mobile plug points and generators perhaps to other ports as it follows maybe the citrus season or wherever there's the need is required. If we have to do that, though, it can't be on a donation basis. Obviously, the producers and exporters saw the risk and the losses they might incur if this wasn't in place, and that's why they invested in it. But this can't be a long-term solution. So the discussions we're having at the moment with both Transnet as well as the Department of Transport is to say, is there some sort of cost recovery mechanism? Not to make a profit, but at the very least, if industry sponsors this from the specific exporters that make use of that facility, one needs to be able to recover the cost. And that way it'll be more sustainable going forward.
So Theo, just to end off, will you have regular talks with the different parties to establish what would be the ideal solution, the final solution?
Absolutely. And I think it sets us up very well. Over the last few years, our relationship has improved with the regulator as well as with Transnet. And I think this pilot project also helped cement what can be done between industry and Transnet. Typically, the clients of Transnet are shipping lines. It's not the cargo owners. So I really think this is a novel approach, and really a pilot that showed that actually the cargo owners and Transnet directly also can have a relationship and can engage in this manner. So I think it sets us up very well for the coming years.
Well, that was all about our ongoing challenges at the Cape Town harbour. And the solution was a pilot project with Agbiz producers and exporters, and hopefully they have found a solution for our export problems.